mics for now, which that is working no problem.
Let us know
It's probably not going to sound amazing.
if people can hear us.
Um, yeah, we might as well just go with that for now. Can anybody hear us now? We've been having a little problem with the Yeti mic, but this this is one of the webcams. It's not going to sound as good as some of the other mics that we have, obviously. They can hear us. Sound is
Excellent.
overrated anyway. So once again, not going to be the best sound today, but we will get back to the Yeti another time. All right. So what were we talking about? Well, we unveiled every secret about how you win with Tyranids in this 40k meta, and by gosh, there's
We also had James Workshop join us to tell us everything about the new squat codex. James himself was just tuning into the Skype call, but he just had to leave.
Yeah,
So
so many new rules.
So many new rules. Really, cannot wait for the new squat codex, folks.
But once again, John, if you want to do a little breakdown, because there are a lot of people in chat congratulating you on the win with the bugs.
Absolutely, thank you. I am just happy that I got to play my Tyranids. Tyranids are definitely hanging with the big boys right now, where Tyranids were doing quite well. I was able to take down Death Guard, Dark Angels, a lot of the traditional meta armies, as well as, even some old-fashioned ones like an Iron Hand Leviathan, because it must be punished for my past sins. But absolutely, then there are many. But it's a very, very fun weekend. Had a very nice, safe tournament. And Tyranids took the 5-0, thanks in a large part to the Demacarans.
They are legends.
They're incredible. Do you have an Igar Thirst ship over there by any chance?
No, but I can get mine.
I think I've got one behind me.
Actually, I think I gave you my Earth Shades.
Right, well,
I don't really use it. I pretty much use a lot of normal oil.
Right, well, there are 3 of them on the desk, so that's okay. We will use one of them.
That should cover you.
That should do it.
So what are you going to be working on today, Mr. John?
Today I am painting a Primaris Tech Marine. While, of course, all of my Space Marines are relatively chapter neutral, I paint them in my Evil Warrior scheme. They will be, tomorrow, a member of the Ultramarines. And I am taking the Ultramarines into Mr. Richard Siegler's Adeptus Custodes. Super excited to annihilate the all-seeing Mr. Siegler.
Unstoppable Destroyer.
I will stop you.
But I am actually not taking that trait. I'm taking Indomitable Constitution.
Ooh, just tanky as possible.
I feel like because the speed of the list isn't great, it's pure Custodes. I don't have little mission playing stuff from Guard or whatnot. I really want just a durable captain who could hold down a flank.
Absolutely makes sense. So, I'm really excited to play against that.
Give up a little tricks, but he is an absolute champion. 9 wounds, 5 up Feel No Pain, 3 up Invuln.
Yep, you love to see it.
He's the guy who you really don't want to charge your troop master in with a full troop and get interrupted on.
No, you do not.
That's what you don't
Much like a Demacaran, actually.
Let's see. Thanks everybody for joining us. Evening Gents just finished painting up some horrors, starting to work on some flamers. Ooh, the chaos. Horrors are very strong, I think.
Absolutely.
I think they're one of the best demon units right now. Yep. Flamers are pretty interesting. I know a lot of the demon players want just cheap mission playing stuff, but that can also do quite a bit of damage, honestly. A bunch of pistol shots.
Absolutely. Love the little cheap units like that.
But they also come in natively from reserve, right? The flamers?
I think that you still have to pay the command point with demons.
All right. They're a little flexible. A little bit of screen.
Very low power level, though, which is nice.
Interesting to hear your thoughts you had on your games versus the Death Guard with the Tyranids.
Oh boy. That was a game against our one and only Mr. Nick Nanavati. Now, of course, there is a Tyranid clinic in the Worm this week, so we'll be going pretty deep into details for all of them. But let's just say that Nick and I had a really close, really exciting, honestly a fantastic game. Just one of those absolute barn burners with swings both ways, back and forth, where neither of us really knew who was going to win until the bottom of turn 5. We both actually made some uncharacteristic mistakes in that one, and it kind of evened out because I frankly made the first one, which I wasn't too pleased with, and luckily Nick bailed me out a little bit. And
do you want to say what those mistakes were?
Absolutely. So I had Domination, and it was Direct Assault, which is the absolute worst mission to play.
The center, baby.
Absolute worst mission to play Death Guard on. I didn't take Direct Assault, which I do regret as well, because I would have just sealed the game. But I needed my Domination, and I moved on to 4 objectives instead of 3 for absolutely no reason. And one of those involved giving his Death Guard Terminators a makeable charge into a Ripper Swarm.
Just let him get on.
And he made it, and then he got on an objective that he otherwise would have needed a hefty advance roll to get onto. Because needing a 6 on an advance versus a 7 on a charge, 7 on a charge a lot easier. 6 in advance, that's pretty hard. And that gave Nick access to 2 objectives with some pylon moves as well that I really didn't need him to be on. So, and it was very unnecessary on my part, so that was a little disappointing, because I realized it just like a little bit too late, whereas like I realized like in my shooting phase, I'm like, I just did very bad math here.
Done goofed.
I done goofed. But that's okay, because Nick had a little bit of a snafu while trying to take down a D. McCarran, and unfortunately, every time he had the Swarm Lord, a full health Catalyst Swarm Lord, and a D. McCarran in combat with Terminators, and he left the Terminators in combat, and was counting on his shooting to kill the Swarm Lord and his counter charge to kill the D. McCarran. And the first Dreadnought did 15 damage to Swarm Lord to kill him. And the rest of the guns suddenly didn't have a target, and the D. McCarran lived. And when the D. McCarran lives, the D. McCarran heals, and every time it kills a Terminator, it heals, and the D. McCarran wiped out the Terminators in combat, tied an objective, and swung 9 points my way, and I won by 7. D. McCarrans, folks. Because, like, not only does, like getting a D. McCarran wounded is okay, but, like, just leaving it alive means that it's going to kill something, and it's going to heal. And, like,
do you give it the active full tier,
or? No, I do not.
So even without that?
Yeah, it gets full rerolls to hit instead of just reroll ones.
Yeah.
So, like, degrading, while not ideal, it still does something, you know? Like, a mid-tier D. McCarran hits on 4s and rerolls everything.
Does it lose attacks?
No.
Okay. It
loses weapon skill, ballistic skill, and movement. And it doesn't have any guns, so only 2 of those really matter.
Yep. And by the time they're degrading movement, they're already right in your face, pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. In degrading movement, they're still plenty close enough to get things done, in my experience. So it was quite an exciting game, quite a barn burner. Nick and I had a very good time. It was very back and forth, and it was just good to have a really good competitive game. Honestly, that would have been one of the best War Room matches ever if we had done it. Alas,
a little extra stakes.
Just a little extra stakes. Put a lot of spice into that one.
There's a lot of pride on the line too.
There is. I am very fond of defending my title in the state of Florida. I really just love competing in Florida, personally. I don't know why that's worth any more or less than anywhere else in the country, but for some reason, Florida is where I win a lot of things.
I was the opposite of John. I'm like, not in Florida, I might as well.
Yeah, you were unstoppable outside the state, and then inside the state, I beat him every time. It's like, no problem. Like, LVO, Nova, I guess I'll let him have this one.
Is there any alternative to using the D. McCarrans, or are they basically the most important part to have to perform with Tyranids, John?
Honestly, I mean, you can do things besides D. McCarrans, but I feel like they are definitely the best thing available to the Codex right now. And I say Codex as if they were in the Codex, they're in the Forge World Index. Tyranids have a lot of really good rules, and they kind of have bad units to put them on. They're like the opposite of demons. Demons have great stat lines and kind of crappy rules to add to them. So getting a unit with a really good stat line is very important. And to take advantage of all those rules, it needs to be something fast and punchy. The D. McCarran is just the best thing available to the faction right now. It has it all. Now, I can genuinely make an argument that the Harridan from Forge World might be better, but I assume that if you don't want to get D. McCarrans, you probably don't have a Harridan lying around. Because that is one of the more expensive of the Forge World kits currently available. But yeah, I would definitely recommend trying to acquire, or frankly, kit bash a D. McCarran. I've actually seen some really cool conversions using the Tyranifex kit, where the legs on that are about the right length. You just need kind of the extra arms that come with the Moloch kit, and then you always get a couple extra sighting talons if you ever build a Hive Tyrant, because let's be honest here, you're not putting sighting talons on your Hive Tyrant most of the time. So if you have a Tyranid arm and you get a Tyranifex kit, I've seen some really good conversions that don't actually require that much extra.
Yeah. Congrats on the win, John. Glad to see the best faction winning again.
Oh, yes. Tyranids are the best faction. They are beautiful, and it's just good to be back with them.
Thoughts on 40k invading Magic the Gathering, flipping the table, and taking all of their stuff?
I've actually never played a game of Magic the Gathering.
I have not either.
As someone who has obviously been to game stores in the past, I have seen Magic the Gathering being played. So, but I couldn't really comment on the game itself, the company, or the culture. I don't really know much about that. But you know what? I like seeing 40k become more mainstream, and I'm aware that Magic has is pretty popular. So if 40k becomes a known quantity to more and more people, I figure that can't be bad.
Yeah.
So if more people are aware of 40k, the hobby continues to grow. I have nothing to complain about.
That's what we're trying to do here with our
Absolutely.
esports. Triple Catan list just won a local tournament going 3-0, and I can't believe it. Could that actually be competitive?
Yes.
It's competitive, yeah. Is it the best Necron list?
I actually think that Double Catan is a little bit better than we've been giving it credit for, and now we really need to test it more, I think, before we could
I think it has some bad matchups.
I think so, but I think it's hard to find an army right now that doesn't have at least some.
I'm willing to try it in the war room if you want to see it.
I would love to see some.
I feel like Tyranid is one of the worst matchups.
I would agree that Tyranid is maybe one of the worst matchups, but I think in general that it could be very competitive. I know Nick is very excited about Catan and his Necrons, and I know Nick actually really wants to try out a double Catan build that we workshopped on a very long car ride this weekend. So maybe we'll be able to bust that out soon, but I do think that it can be competitive 100%. Necrons just have a lot of good tools, and there's a lot of things that we still need to explore. I just think that this is a codex that is going to kind of reward people who continue to play it, like Richard is. Because there is a lot of depth and a lot of different units and options as the meta evolves and models finally get released. Hopefully they finally release models.
The Flayed ones are coming, John, and the Psychomancer.
Or excellent.
The other Chronomancers.
And the Heavy Intercessors.
It's been a long, long time coming.
Yep.
But yes, it's definitely competitive. Is it the best list? I feel like it has... The bad matchups are if they have a ton of OPSEC bodies. And just big units that you can't really get through, because Volume of Fire is not what Catan do.
No, not at all.
So like 30 Orc Boys show up, 30
Killing D3 a turn, great.
You play against 60 Necron Warriors and a bunch of Scarabs, it's not going to be great. So
Totally makes sense.
But I do think in a team environment, that is a very strong list to run.
Oh, absolutely.
You spam the mortals.
Yep, that sounds like, that makes a lot of sense to me.
But, lots more congratulations to you, John.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Swarmlord Lennon, did you play against Dark Angels with your bugs? I had to play against Dark Angel Terminator spam soon. I have no idea how to play when everything is OPSEC and Democarons can't eat stuff.
That's a secret. Democarons can't eat stuff. But actually, I did play against Dark Angels on the top table. I ended up playing against a very good buddy of mine and a former coaching client of mine who made it all the way to top table with his Dark Angels. Unfortunately for him, I was able to kill the Terminators. What I found is just that Tyranids do inflict enough damage and they're fast enough that they can deliver it. And when you need the Terminators down, I was actually able to get it done. The biggest thing that I did was I made sure that when I tried to kill them, I went all in on it. So I cast 4 different Mortal Wound spells on them, shot them with an Exocrine that had Symbiote Storm on it, was kind of stationary. I shot Hiveguard into it. And then I put Democaron in. And when I did the Democaron, I actually charged some Hormagaunts in as well. And the Hormagaunts just piled in and based everything in the unit. And then the Democaron hit the very flank. And he ate like 2 or 3 Terminators. And then he fought twice and he ate 2 or 3 more Terminators. Just because every failed save is pretty much a dead Terminator against him. And when you start getting to close combat, eventually, if they run out of Storm Shields, my opponent here had 5 Storm Shields and 5 Lightning Claw. By the time the Democaron was fighting twice, he was taking 5 Open Bolts in close combat, and I picked up another 3. The rerolls to wound that a Democaron can bring for 1 command point really help into Dark Angels. And luckily that was enough to. I think I took it down to a 1-man unit by the end of that turn. And although it did fall back from combat, healed up a guy and hid behind a wall for the rest of the game. Basically, it was no longer a threat.
Well, it's not the bowling ball pushing it.
Exactly. 2 Terminators is just something that I can deal with. 10 has to be dealt with. Not to say that you should just throw your army into them, but if you're able to set up a point where you can deliver a lot of different damage output into it, you can usually grind it down. And the best part was that I was able to do it relatively safely for Reprisal because none of my combat committed. Well, 10 Hormagaunts committed, but that didn't matter. But the Democaron didn't commit until I'd seen what all of my shooting had done. And once it was down to like 6 Terminators, I was like, yeah, I can send a Democaron in here, fight twice, and see what happens. Yeah. So I just really saved my command points for an all-out push when I needed it, and that was enough.
You gotta be opportunistic.
Oh, my advance was opportunistic.
John, never having played Magic the Gathering before is probably the most surprising thing I've ever heard from Art of War.
Really? I I guess I strike people as a Magic player? I don't know. I don't know if Nick has either. Actually, tell you what, I can drop you something even more surprising. I have never played Dungeons and Dragons. This is not an opposition. I would love to play Dungeons and Dragons. I've just never had the actual opportunity to do so.
John has played other RPGs.
I have played other RPGs, but I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. And somehow it just, like pre-COVID, I just had a work schedule that was not very conducive to it. Unfortunately, I just worked Friday nights for almost all of undergrad, which is normally when Dungeons and Dragons groups are held. But Friday nights were off, so that Saturdays could be spent at 40K tournaments.
I also haven't played D&D.
Ah, see, neither of us have. Now, what are the odds that Nick is the only person in the house who has played Dungeons and Dragons? Could you imagine? I don't know if he has. I wouldn't be surprised if Nick told me he hadn't.
We know he played the Dragon Ball Z card game.
That's true. That's what we know. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nick has played at least one game of D&D.
Yeah.
It's if you have nerdy friends, it usually happens at some point.
Yeah.
I just happen to have not.
Even if he didn't enjoy it, he still played it.
Yep.
I would guess he played it.
So if Nick is the only person in the house who has played Dungeons and Dragons, does that mean he's the nerdiest now?
No, that still doesn't mean that.
No. Okay. Not even close.
We outstrip him in every other area.
That's true.
Also, the fact that we've played other RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, gentlemen, without giving the full service, what would your ideas be for a 1250 Dark Angel list in a vehicle-heavy anti-tank meta?
Honestly, I still feel like Terminators and Talon Masters is
Multi-month attack bikes.
pretty good, yeah. Honestly, I think you can just trim down some of the units from the 2,000 point list that we've played on stream. You probably need less attack bikes and a couple less supporting characters. But frankly, transhuman and strong emblem characters are still pretty darn good. Talon Masters that can't be shot, that's not going out of style anytime soon.
Nope.
Right on. What are you working on today, Mr. Siegel?
I'm working on Nemesis Zandric and Imhotep the Stormlord.
Ooh.
I already have a painted Imhotep, but he is on a command barge looking really awesome.
Right on. Adding a little bit of Sawtech spice to your Necron life?
Yep. I've been experimenting with some lists with clients, with building in Zandrek for that counter tactics.
Mm-hmm.
So either you go small patrol and you grab him and somebody to get the Fight Last Relic and 5-up CP regen, or you go full Sawtech. In terms of a big detachment with immortals and everything.
Very interesting. Okay.
Could see either. We're definitely getting Sawtech on Thursday.
Awesome. That's going to be really exciting to see. And Thursday is a Warring game between apparently the Sawtech legions and the Tyranids. I'll be bringing out the same list that I brought to this weekend's past tournament. So I'm very happy with how the Tyranids are looking right now. I don't think I need to change anything. At least not yet. So I'm going to take that list and see how it does into the Necrons.
Nothing has come up where you're I could make a little change here and there.
I actually made a couple adaptations right before the event, and I was very happy with how they all panned out. Really, it was adding trimming down the Kraken Gaunt and turning one unit into a Chronos Gaunt unit. Just having an extra unit.
Deny.
Two, having the deny came in clutch a couple of times. I had someone try to jinx a Demakaran and warp charge 7 on D6, 1d6. That is not average.
Not happening.
And it did not happen.
Could you talk a little bit about Necron versus Tyranid matchup happening next Thursday in the Worm? What are your expectations and so on?
Oh man, my expectations is that I need to do damage in a lot of different phases to triumph over these the durable Necrons. And I think Tyranids are pretty good at that. I think that speed and indirect fire is going to play a key role as well. But I need to be able to exist on the same objectives as Siegler for a certain amount of time to deny him points, and that's going to be the challenge. It's definitely not insurmountable. I think that Tyranids match up relatively well into Necrons. It's definitely not one that I look at as a hard counter, but it's not exactly easy, and it's also not a matchup that we've played yet. Yeah. So there's plenty of room for kind of unexpected variables to just make things weird.
Yeah, and which Necron style do you think is scarier? 60 Novak Warriors? Do you think the Custom Dynasty with Sawtech? Do you think Catan's?
I think the big bricks of Warriors with 27 Scarabs is what scares me the most.
Yeah.
Not that I can't handle that, it's just more things to deal with, and killing the screens is going to be actually very annoying. going into something like these warriors, or especially the scarabs. I have plans, but it's not necessarily
Do you have ways to
easy.
fight first with Tyranids?
No, but I have ways to make it last.
And that's the psychic power?
That's a psychic power.
Yeah, so it's not reliable with the silent if you're going up against the Silent King, but it's
I'm actually not worried about the Silent King as much, frankly.
You're not going to try and go after him, just
No, I think I can just kill him. I don't think that the Silent King is good enough in combat to for me to care about fighting last. Actually,
yeah.
He is good in combat into certain things. I just think that Democarons are a very nice stat line for getting through that. Just 18 wounds is the big part. We will see. I still am probably going to resist trying to the potential to go bad exists.
Yeah. 4 pinvolts, baby.
4 pinvolts.
All of a sudden, you make one too many.
All of a sudden, yeah. So, there's no guarantee that the Democarons are enough to just knock.
I saw it against the Plagueburst Crawler with a 5-up pinball.
Yeah,
I
had to fight twice, and that was a very inconvenient use of 3 command points. So I don't know if I'm going to try to commit to such an adventure anyway. But
the other thing is, if I have Xandrek there, you're not counting on a fight twice.
That's very true. Xandrek and the Silent King. Xandrek will add a very interesting. That'll actually be a really interesting thing that we're going to talk about a lot in the War Room.
Yeah, it's a lot of really key things.
Yep, how to plan on someone having a Vect and just waiting for them to use it.
It's not that common anymore. It's
not, and we don't know. Well, we know Dark Eldar are coming soon, and while they might still have Vect, they might not. Unfortunately, we do not have we are not privy to this knowledge yet.
The only 9th edition rule with it is
Xandrek. So. And he doesn't have to do anything. It's just an
auto. It goes off, but it is it's limited like the GSC one.
Yep. The fact that he doesn't have to roll for it is just it's not a command point adventure where against Dark Eldar, I can play cagey, and then I can be oh, you have 3 command points? Yeah, let me go ahead and do my key stratagem like an advance in charge on a pension. You just can't do that while Vect exists.
Well, that's where you bait other strats. You're you should probably Vect that. That's pretty important.
Yep.
Oops.
Hopefully I can bait Mr. Siegler into vecting the wrong stratagem.
Well, Tyranids do have a lot of really powerful
Tyranids do have a lot of really cool strats, and there's a lot of ones that are really nice. Overrun is a really good one to stop, doubling an advance roll at a key moment. There are plenty of opportunities for a very important Tyranids stratagem to not go off. So that'll be a very interesting matchup. I am really looking forward to it.
Let's see. This weekend was the first time I've seen a Democaron in person. They are absolutely huge.
That's TK Penny, isn't it? Guaranteed TK Penny said that.
That is TK Penny.
There he is.
But they are enormous.
Oh yeah, they are big.
They're leaper killers.
They are leaper killers. I mean, they have to be big enough to leap over a building and kill you. And well, they are. It's how can this monster go over the thing? His legs are taller than a Redemptor. I'm not the same, man. He walks over it.
He leaps.
Yeah.
Do we expect a nerf for Sisters in any new/future codex? I've won a few tournaments with them recently, expecting the nerf back.
Honestly, no.
I think some of their rules might disappear because we haven't really seen them in 9th edition. Advance and charge is something that's disappeared when it's existed. So
really,
yeah. Well, Necron's had it.
I guess, but White Scar's had it.
Yeah, but 9th edition rules I'm talking about. None of the 9th edition books have had that rule in there with the new table size.
Yeah. The Space Marines rewrote the White Scar chapter tactic and still included advance and charge. Yeah. I guess they haven't been putting it as the one-offs stratagems. Yeah, maybe not.
So
we'll see. If Dark Eldar gets it though, maybe.
Maybe Dark Eldar, maybe Witch Cult gets it.
Yeah.
But I think some of that type of stuff might be toned down. The fight twice will probably be a data sheet specific or just disappear.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, for Sisters, it already is data sheet specific. It's just specific to Repentia and Mortifiers. So okay.
But stuff like that.
Yeah, I could definitely see. Nerfs usually come with buffs. Is how it usually goes with new codexes. I don't know if Sisters are getting a new codex. I personally am still a little bit skeptical about whether or not we are getting a new Sisters codex, just because I feel like that would be a natural campaign supplement because Sisters didn't get a Psychic Awakening and got such a recent codex. Yeah. But it's entirely possible Games Workshop decides that they do in fact want a new Sisters codex. Sisters were part of whatever it's called, that trailer video at the beginning of 9th edition. Clearly they want this to be one of the forefront factions when you picture Warhammer 40k.
And it's still modern, very modern.
Very modern, yeah, absolutely. So, I wouldn't be mad at all if Sisters got a new codex. I just, personally, I'm kind of content with the current one, so I'm hoping
Yeah,
that there's no
the
change.
current one is one of the best written codexes out there in terms
Absolutely.
of balance and diversity, and it's certainly powerful. It's one of the best books they've written.
Mhm.
But I
The
would really
diversity
like
is one
to.
of the best parts.
I really like to see them focus on other factions that desperately need it.
That's my biggest thing as well. Like
There's some
could
that
Sisters use a new codex? Sure, I'm not opposed to that,
nobody
but
doesn't.
no one's going to complain about Sisters getting love because they didn't get it for so long. Like, frankly, I feel like Orcs and Genestealer Cult and Tau
Yeah.
are like really
Tyranids.
feeling like they need a codex. Tyranid's got a Forge World love letter, so like
Yeah.
honestly, I'm kind of good. But the overall faction could use it because they have a very
They
good
have too
army.
many-
They don't have a very good book.
There's too many models in that just don't see any play whatsoever.
Yep. The Pyrovore Hera specs.
The Hive Crown.
Literally everything but the models I put in my army is terrible. Oh, the Hive Crone? Oh man,
Hive Crown. It's a legend.
I do love the Hive Crone. It is uniquely terrible, however.
Excited for seeing the Ultramarines this week. What is that list going to kind of look like, and is it going to have Marnius Calgar?
It will not have Marnius Calgar because it is Bobby G. Guilliman and the Dreadnoughts is something that's coming.
We're going to have a dread off.
We're having a dread off. So the full list will be posted pretty soon. If you keep an eye on the YouTube page, you'll be able to see the list in the comments when they're posted. However, I will definitely say that there are going to be multiple Redemptors as well as Rabute Guilliman going off against Trajan Valorius and multiple Telemon. And that is going to be a very
epic because we haven't done
gonna be
anything
so cool.
like this in a while.
No, this is going to be awesome.
And this is a subscriber match.
Absolutely. Was that a clown mode that wanted to see the Ultramarines in the...
This was Gundam.
This was Gundam. Awesome. Even better. Alrighty. Oh man, I am just so excited for that. And that's why I'm painting a Primaris Tech Marine right now, because I would very much like to have a Primaris Tech Marine when it comes time to...
I wish I had a Custodes Tech Marine.
Yeah, no. That's okay.
That would be sick.
No. This Tech Marine is going to be carrying the Seal of Oath. These Redemptors are going to be rerolling everything, and we're just going to start shooting.
I bought 3 Telemon many moons ago, and finally it's hitting the table.
Yes.
All
All three at once.
All three
the
at
biggest part. We have had a Telemon on the table, but 3, that takes a little bit of
Eternal
madness.
Penitent is such a good strat.
It is a really good stratagem, so I'm very happy at the prospect of seeing Telemons on the table.
Iron Hand's Fire Raptor, is it viable?
Putting any kind of Iron Hand unit with a crap ton of guns that you can just put into Dev Doctrine for a couple turns is not bad, because they can do it for 1 CP, and then, hey, you know what? Have a Tech Marine, make it +1 to hit, make it rerolls 1s, it's AP 2 or better on all its guns. Like, that is very not bad. How necessary is that? It's still prone to the same things that Flyers are prone to before, which is if you just get shot hard enough, you might die.
Yep.
That's just always something you got to keep in mind.
Hard to hide him behind terrain.
It is hard to hide. It cannot be hidden behind terrain, fortunately. You need something big.
There are some Flyers that can actually kind of squeeze behind, like the Storm Talon,
Yeah.
some larger ruins, but the Fire Raptor, no.
No, that is
Any
not.
of the AdMech Flyers, nope.
Nope, not a chance. Yeah, that's very fair. I do like the Fire Raptor a lot. It's one of the coolest Forge World models. That's one of those models I've always wanted to get. And I just frankly haven't gotten around to because I've never been playing Space Marines at a time when the Fire Raptor was something you needed. It had a very short-lived run, about like early 8th edition. But that did not last long
Was
at all.
that triple Fire Raptor?
I think it was actually quadruple Fire Raptor, which should tell you about how long ago that was.
Yep. That must have been a
Yeah, at that LVO, I think I played against like 8 Fire Raptors and like a couple Storm Wolves or whatever. No, I think it's just Fire. No, there's ATC with the Storm Wolves. I just played against a crap ton of Fire Raptors at that LVO. I was like, great.
That's why when people complain about the meta, like Games Workshop has actually put in the work. Like,
yeah,
there aren't many like obscene silly lists since that early part of
Oh,
the
yeah.
edition. Leviathan was an exception.
Yeah, Guilliman and 4 and like 3 Fire Raptors was just like, oh crap. Like I just got to deal with this. Like, but the Tyranids actually did prevail over that one.
They got boots on the ground. Oh no, boots didn't. Even
Boots
exist.
did not exist.
It was existing because of that.
I killed them, and it took a long time, and I lost a lot of models in the process. But it counted.
So you got to break the game to get those types of rules
Yep.
created. This meta is the best I've been a part of. Seems like more armies than ever can compete in a tournament. I think so. Honestly, if they just bring up kind of a couple of the lower books, The meta's in a really great place.
Yeah, there's still like a couple of things that I would like to see nerfed and a couple of things I'd like to see buffed. That's always going to be a constant. But I think that the gap between the have and the have-nots is smaller than usual. And that's a very healthy thing because like Tyranids are, I don't think like they're the best army in the game, but like if you you can build something with Tyranids that can compete with more recent rules. And that's what you want, is you don't want it to be like, well, I don't have the latest Codex, therefore I have no reason to play.
Yep.
Like that's not fun for anyone, even the people who have the Codex.
Those
Exactly. You want to be viable well before that's.
So honestly, the balance of ninth is very much like StarCraft Brood War, where the maps themselves, in this case the missions, can really shape the meta in powerful ways. Like if Death Guard and Dark Angels are too powerful on these 5 objective missions, just sort of rolling those back and introducing more spread out objectives.
Yeah.
That would be a way to help balance the game in a different
That'd be really cool. Now, unfortunately, we haven't seen a second like a GT pack really. Like we got a little FAQ, but maybe that'll like be more of an indication as the future goes on with Games Workshop. Again,
Yeah, I feel like even if it's just like 1 or 2 added, you know, just little changes, you kind of turn back something like priority targets or changes mission secondary, try and improve it that way. Because I do like that mission for moving objectives. I just don't like the secondary.
Yeah, exactly.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Excited to see the 2 best players in the house on stream this afternoon. Hey!
It'll happen again tomorrow.
Looking forward to this month's sub match. Also, yeah, John and I are playing. We put on shows.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've got 2 really exciting games. Ultramarines vs. Custodes tomorrow, and then on Thursday in the War Room, Tyranids vs. Necrons. I mean, those are some really, really interesting games.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get the Ultramarines on the table again. I am personally hyped about Ultramarines. I always thought that they've been a little bit underloved from the various Spaceman armies. Not everyone knows I love my White Scars for a reason, but like they have some very solid rules. Like I don't think that they have like a single rule that's as good as the best White Scar stuff, but like they don't. But like White Scars also have like honestly a couple of rules that I just never use.
Yeah.
And like Ultramarines just have a lot of very solid rules, and like that's just fun. And you know that's really how Ultramarines should be. You know they're less extreme than other chapters, but they're just very consistent. And honestly, I still think they're pretty good.
Yeah. And consistency in of itself is very powerful.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to get them on the table tomorrow. Get Bobby G on the table. Bobby G versus Trajan is going to be just the ultimate Trajan getting slapped around by Bobby G. That's what I'm looking
It's going to be
forward
Trajan and the captain.
I will go through both of them at once. This is not a problem at all. I don't know if you think I'm worried about this, but Bobby G's got this.
There's triple Telemon.
Got this on lock.
Telemon versus the how many points is the Redemptor? Is it like 185?
185 the way I get them.
Yeah.
Telemon costs a lot more, but Telemon does a little bit for that. So Telemon is strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Cannot be mad about it.
These are some of the coolest dreads in the game.
Oh yeah, Telemons are awesome. I'm super excited that we're going to see Telemons on the table. Because we've done it before, and every time we have a Telemon on the table, I just feel like it's super fun. Because they always take so long to kill.
Yeah, remember the warriors wrapped around the Telemon?
For like 5 turns, yeah. I thought that was great, though, because like, that Telemon did not want to die.
No, he refused.
He was the longest going to be fight, and he's like, well, might as well keep staying. 1 wound left, no problem.
He saw Trajan die, and was like, absolutely not. I'm being promoted.
Oh, Trajan. I thought Trajan lived in that. I thought it was the Vexilla that got like whacked by a.
Well, then the Silent King made the charge into Trajan.
Oh, that did happen. That's okay though.
John blocked that from his memory.
I did blocked what from my memory? No idea what you're talking about.
Redouble Catan. Isn't the rest of the Necron list good versus the hordes that are bad for Catan? You have to really. I haven't seen many people building in the warriors with those Catan builds, just because it starts getting really pricey and they don't have the Lord support for it.
Yeah.
But I like having at least 1 break of warriors to help block that out. They typically go with Scarabs. The problem is the Scarabs really just don't do any damage. Even with Novak, it was them still not doing a lot of damage. With OBSEC and no AP, they're not doing a ton.
Yep. That's okay if you plan for it,
but yeah, they're not really picking up 30 boys. They're not helping with that.
No.
So, and all you need is like 10 of the boys to survive, just tagging the Catan.
Just keep it there for a while.
Yeah, because they're so slow. 8-inch move is tough to get where you need to go.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
You saw it on Thursday's game where Mark really carefully played around the Nightbringer.
Yeah, Mortarian just went right around.
It's just like, no.
It's like, we're going to go somewhere else.
Well, warp time is powerful. Without warp time, it's tougher for Mortarian, but he's still pretty fast. What are the good and bad matchups for the Nopin list? Running it in the WTC because my team needed it, but I don't understand it that deeply. Are you playing my Necron list, Ashley? from the Nopen.
I would guess that, because actually I think it's a lot of history with sisters, I would guess she's doing the Las Vegas Open winning list. But clarify which list you mean,
Well, she
Ashley.
said Richard.
Oh,
What are the
okay.
good matchups for your Nopen list? Which I
Oh,
assume is
your
the
Nopen
Necron.
list. That is definitely
Yep.
Necrons.
So, in that case, the matchups, it doesn't really have awful matchups. The tougher matchups are the ones where they have cheap units that do a lot of damage all at once. So Sisters is a tough matchup because single unit Repentia or single unit Zephyrim all buffed up
Mhm.
can potentially pick off a full 20-man brick. Certainly if you kill like 2 or 3 of them,
Yep.
it makes it very manageable. So you need to rely on the Overwatch. And so if they don't build in cheap things like Death Cult Assassins to soak up charges, you will just nuke a Sisters unit on Overwatch.
Yep.
You need to use the Silent King aggressively to block charges after you deal with the multi-meltas. And you really want to use the Scarabs very carefully to also block charges like I did against Mark. I made it so he could only come into particular areas and he couldn't get his full units in combat because the Scarabs were there.
Yeah, that's
So
really important.
you need to do stuff like that, and you need to be really careful with your auras. Most of them happen in the command phase, so you need to always be thinking with reanimations how to get back into position if you make a mistake.
Mhm.
A lot of I would also go back into the War Room Clinic where we did resurrecting models. I went through the 5 or 6 different things you need to focus on when you're thinking about reanimations because there's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, Necron reanimations are pretty complex.
Do you think it's a big deal to give up command protocols to be able to split dynasties? It depends on what you're getting. I think getting OBSEC Scarab, 27 OBSEC Scarabs, or getting Sawtech detachment is worth it, honestly, over the protocols. But I think it's especially true in the WTC format where there's a lot of small ruins all over the place. You're never really taking advantage of the most powerful protocol, which is 5-up Overwatch. And in that case, the other ones are fine. Fallback and shoot is very good to have.
Yeah.
But you probably build in a Royal Warden in that case and have a consistent fallback and charge as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The Royal Warden, I think, is very valuable, actually.
Yeah.
I just love access to fallback and charge.
I really wish he was an elite choice.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the problems.
Yeah, the HQs really get stuffed up pretty quick, especially if you are running some Lords and then the Chronomancers.
Mm-hmm.
On the topic of Sisters nerfs, wouldn't be surprised to see active faith charges go to 1 die only. I could see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by that, but
Sisters having super reliable charges. Not.
yeah, you got to believe in miracles. Believe in miracles,
There's
folks.
a lot of miracles happening all the time.
Absolutely. Charging is a miracle in itself.
Sisters should be base 4 on ballistic skill. They're not superhuman or alien.
But they're well trained, and they're trained in the Schola.
Also, don't they have carapace armor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which does
It's
have
built
like
into
it does have like wired in like connected to
It's built
weapons.
to their physiology.
As well, they're trained in the same Scala as like the Scions, who are also ballistic skill 3. So I feel like that's just a consistency thing. Where like most of the males, in the Scala get like after like they're raised to a certain age, get sent off to the Scions, and after the same age, the girls get sent off to the Sisterhood. So like I'm okay with Sisters being ballistic skill 3. They are much more elite than your average guardsman, and I'm okay with them being treated as such. They're not just a guardsman in power armor. Like
Much
they've
more
had,
faithful.
not only that, they are much better trained. Like a guardsman was probably like a farmer 2 months ago. And 2 months of training, can get you hitting 50% of the time, but a lifetime of training, 66% of the time. But also, you're still bad at shooting trees.
Tau Breachers being hitting on 4s is strange.
Yeah, it's the marker light thing. I don't.
They need to really redesign.
They're just like, oh, they are ballistic skill 3 because you have marker lights.
It's like, oh, what if I don't want to pay hundreds of points for something that's not reliable?
Well, then you're not ballistic skill 3 anymore.
But I paid the points for it, John.
Too bad.
That's honestly a very similar problem to some of the Tyranid stuff. Is they're priced as if they have a whole bunch of buffs that you don't want to put on that unit.
Tyranid buffs are also just very weird. A lot of them are, yeah. I had a very amusing moment in the Dark Angel game where they have the spell to ignore my auras, and I just like looked at my arm and I'm like, oh, I don't actually have any auras I care about. This is okay.
Go ahead and turn off.
Synapse is an aura, but
you have like 4 synapse.
yeah,
ranges.
like turning off one, like, and they're all redundant. That's
Yeah.
it's like, all right, whatever.
It's 24 inches, so it's not even hard to get them in range.
Yeah, it's a 24-inch bubble. 12 radius.
Siegler played the Zerakin destroyers into White Scars this weekend, won the game, but 6 destroyers and 3 of the Locust Heavy destroyers took 1 wound off a Blade Guard and killed 2 attack bikes. Probably not playing them again.
Yeah.
But you tried. That's the thing I'm impressed with.
I do respect.
I'm proud of you for trying. And honestly, like, they aren't that far off. It's just they really need to rethink that weapon.
Yeah. I'm gonna go grab a water. Do you want something?
No, I got a water down here, but thank you.
Perfect.
Telemons, what is Sealer's list for tomorrow, and what Dread host? I am playing Shadow Keepers because it is just so powerful with the Telemons. T8, there's a lot of Strength 8 weapons in the game, all of a sudden bringing them to Strength 7, or any of the Strength 5 weapons down to Strength 4. It's a massive deal on the Telemons. Them surviving for most of the game, they are going to put out a crazy amount of damage, especially with Trajan nearby with those rerolls. So I much prefer Shadow Keepers, but if the other Dread host you can consider if you build around it more and probably don't do triple Telemon is the one where you get exploding 6s in melee. But it doesn't, it's not quite as good with the Dread build in my opinion. I don't have too many other units buffing from it. I really have a Venatari unit and the characters, and then some Shield Guard, which are really only there to stand on objectives. They're not trying to do damage. After Drukhari comes out, what's your wish list for the next 4 Codex releases? I would love to see Tau and GSC in there because I think they're the 2 worst armies in the game. And after that, they mentioned a campaign book like 2 months ago. So you'd expect that to be in there in the next 4 months because they announced it and started showing those sisters models. I would like to see Grey Knights and Admech also because those are 2 of the earliest Codex releases still that haven't been updated. Orcs could be up there as well, but I'm personally not as much of a fan of orcs. Afternoon, gents. For a 20-man brick of warriors, what is the ideal amount of support? Is there such a thing as overinvesting in support? There is overinvesting, frankly. There are armies in the game that just kill 20 warriors, or they'll kill 3 or 4 and then have a unit like Repentia pick up the rest of them. In that case, you're never benefiting from all this stuff that you just added in. I think the kind of medium zone is having a Ghost Arc, if you're running a bunch of warriors, and then having a Resorb. I think those are the 2 most powerful, because you Resorb and then you bring the rest of them back with the Ghost Arc. That's the most consistent, in my opinion. The Technomancer is cool, but if he could use the strat on the same unit that you already did reanimations on, I would like him a lot more, but it has to be different units, so bringing D3 back, most people aren't trying to whittle down all your warrior units at once, so you're not really getting the actual investment from it. So I prefer the abilities with the reanimation that bring back a lot of models at once, and that's the Resorb and the Ghost Arc. Strat, of course.
Hi, friends. I wonder when Steve will read this.
What's your wish list for next 4 codexes? And then I'm going to read the super chat.
Next 4 codexes. Okay. So, like, my wish list would be incredibly biased. Yeah, I'll 2 years.
I said Tau, GSC, and then I said, because they're the 2 worst, and then I said Admech and Grey Knights because they're the oldest after that.
Okay. After Dark Eldar.
Or Chaos Space Marines.
I would love to see Genestealer Cult. Chaos Space Marines. I don't actually want Chaos Space Marines to get a new codex for any particular reason. I just want them to update all their crappy old rules that like don't function. Because I hate all of that. And I also want Warp Time to be Legion locked. So that Mortarion can't get, and Vets to be Legion locked, so that Death Guard don't just get Vets when you have an ally. Because I just think all that's silly. Genestealer Cult and Vect, or Genestealer Cult and Genestealer Cult and Chaos Space Marines. After that, I would say, honestly, I really do want Tyranids to get a new book. And then I think, like, purely on a conceding the need kind of thing, I would say Tau.
It's just they're not made for this edition.
Yeah, like, it's not that I want Tau to be good. Trust me, I don't. However, they need some love. And I respect that, some of my good friends actually care for Tau and have been corrupted by their, perfidious whispers of the greater good. And you know what? I want Richard to be happy. Let's make Tau playable.
John, I'm getting 70 crude in.
Okay. In that case, I'm good. You know what? Screw that. Codex Crew Mercenaries. That's what we want. Ally in with Tau. Just kidding. It's pure crew. Done. Crew talks OB.
I'm getting 3 crew boxes. I'm not joking about this. I actually ordered it from Warfire.
Oh, God.
It's coming.
Oh, my goodness. I am so pleased by this. All right, folks, should we play the cavalry spam into the Krutux Riders? Because, like, I will put Adamek Riders and Deathcorp Krieg Riders on the same table just to take on the Krut Riders.
Now, to be fair, 2 of those units are good, and 1 of them isn't, and the one that isn't is the Krutox Riders.
Like, I am not.
Why are they 28 points a model? They're almost as expensive as a Dark Angel Terminator. I'm not joking.
That's the same cost as a Chaos Space Marine Terminator. What are the stats on this thing?
It's like T5. It has 6 up armor, John. It has an auto cannon.
How many wounds is it?
5.
Oh, that's actually a lot of wounds.
Is it though? On 6 up armor, John?
Okay, I'm not saying it's tough or good. I'm just. I thought it was going to be like a T4 3 wound thing.
No.
5 wounds for 28 points is like still not great, but that was tankier than I was expecting.
What they need is some silly relic that gives like an aura of 5 up reroll, and then they'd be
or
just good.
And hear me out. When a Krut unit is in a forest, they ignore the AP of all incoming weapons.
They're supposed to be in forests.
Yep. Now they still only have a 6 up save, to be clear.
Yeah.
But they ignore all AP.
That would help.
Yep. So
Still not be amazing.
No, it would not help at all. 6 of armor is like, get out of here.
I'm just making 6. You gotta give them feel no pain.
Absolutely.
Clown Mode with a $5 super chat. Congrats on the win, John. My question is, when you bring a Vect, when do you typically look to use it? Do you emphasize the late game? Thank you so much for that super chat.
Thank you so much, Clown Mode. Absolutely emphasize the late game. Usually I try to wait for the last hurrah moment and shut it down.
Yeah, it's when that like key moment, I really need to get on this objective. Oops, I rolled the 1 on the advance. No, you're not getting there.
That, something like that, something like a failed charge. I also like to save it for like moments that are like this. Like their stratagem was the contingency plan, like because like if you let's say like like people like use a stratagem on like I'm gonna make my charge better. I'm gonna do like a 3d6 charge. That's my stratagem. If you vect that and they just happen to roll a 10, garbage. Wait for them to roll it, and then once they fail it, vect the reroll, and then that's like immediate. Like if this works, no effect.
Yep.
If I use vect, I don't want any.
It's the sure plays, and especially ones that involve point swings.
Absolutely, point swings are big, and late game is also great because the longer you have access to it, the more your opponent has to kind of alter their game plan, which is what I really like. It's making people do things a little different than they wanted to. Here we go.
Yeah, so the same reason I sometimes just hang on to CP in games.
Absolutely, that is very important very often.
But Clown Mode, you were the top donor for last month, so please do let us know what you want as a matchup, and we will put it on the schedule. You can give us the factions that you want, the players that you want to play them. Mm-hmm. You can give us specifics about the list, or you could just let us come up with whatever we think is best.
And if anyone is hearing that and thinks, golly gee, I would love to pick a game like that, if you want to make me play Deathcore Riders into Krutox Riders, which I would like you to make me do that, then just, top subscriber every month. It's top 2, right?
Do we get Nick to lose to the crew?
Oh, I mean, like, how could he beat the crew is really the question.
He's just not going to.
No way. I don't care about crew.
It's going to be supported by a bunch of Tau Commanders and some Airburst Crisis.
70 crew and Tau Commanders.
And,
just triple patrol, 6 Commanders,
I've got
70
crew in there, and then I've got some Crew Hounds. I've got 30 Breachers still.
Okay.
Got 4 Commanders.
Not bad.
I like
what
it
sounds like. Yeah.
It's like, because they have a pregame move, which I really like. And there's just 20 models I don't care about.
And they're OPSEC and they're cheap?
Yep. They're not that cheap.
They're not that expensive.
6 points.
Yeah, I mean...
Why are they more expensive than Guardsmen?
Well, a Guardsman is 5.5. Like, it's 5 points per 10 models more. And you get a scout move. It's not awful.
Guard get company commander.
They do.
And a 5 of armor.
They do. Do crew get a benefit for being in forests? Like, I know they used to, but... No, they just removed that? That's a pity. I like that.
But the Krutox Rider has a rule called Agile Brute, and that is cool. Agile Brute.
Does it like ignore the penalty for moving to forests?
I don't even remember what it does because it's bad.
Dang it.
I'll look it up again. Do you see any good builds making use of heavy intercessors? 100%. It's called Deathwatch.
Deathwatch definitely like them.
Deathwatch do it best. You can just have reasonably durable objective holders, but Marines don't really need that. Just get Blade Guard.
Yeah, I think so. I think Dark Angels actually have decent arguments for them as well. Maybe like Ultramarines, but Deathwatch definitely feel like the chapter that wants them the most. But we'll see. Once we get those models, I'll try to get some painted myself as well.
Sponsored Warfire minis.
Indeed, we are, and I'm so excited about it. Just because, you know what? Trying to get more models for the Space Marine collection always makes me happy.
Well, my Space Marine collection is gigantic.
It is, and it grows because GW just keeps going, and they don't stop, even though I would really like them to.
And when was the last Marine released? I think we're due another one, right, John?
That's true. I think it was literally this weekend. Let's just throw one more in there. Codex Black Templar is coming your way soon. Oh, I love that next month's White Dwarf has like rules for the Exorcist chapter. I'm like, how?
All these random chapters.
I'm like, how is this like the thing that we're doing right now?
I don't know.
They could do so many cool things with that.
And some random work clan to tide them over.
Yep. See, that'd be
random
cool.
Tau set. Did not expect a StarCraft reference. Is Siege going to start measuring his 40k APM? We actually have played many games. John has seen it.
Yep.
I have about 215 to 230, 240 on average.
Mm-hmm.
That's playing Terran, real race. John also plays Terran. He hovers around
slower
that sweet 40 APM range.
There we go. That's the roast I was looking for.
And then my brother's in like the 130s, 140s.
Yeah.
Depends if he's playing Protoss or not. With Protoss, you don't need APM.
That's true.
F1A. 3 a.m. currently in Perth, Western Australia, catching up on painting commissions. You are a champion. Probably want to get some rest eventually. But,
No. Painting.
But you could be like John and just not sleep. John actually stays in the paint room all day.
Yep. No, that's what I work, and then when I'm off work, then I come to the paint stream.
Thoughts on Innis's triple Catan list? 3 Transcendent, Spearhead with a Chronomancer, Psychomancer, 17 Scarabs, Hexmark, and 3 Tesseract Arcs. Very, very interesting. Does he have the fallback part of the Custom Dynasty? Oh, he only has 6-inch move there? That's interesting. I feel like you would really want fallback and shoot on those Tesseract Arcs.
I think he likes, because I think a lot of their weapons are actually not blast, even though they're D6 shots, so they actually can shoot into combat pretty well.
It's still not reliable. Like, you want to shoot at what you want to. Like, 30 gaunts show up. Awesome, I get to shoot into them.
Well, I think Innis is pretty big into team tournaments, so that this may be the context there.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of their stuff we're seeing is team tournament especially.
As a matter of fact, I can confirm that the Tyranid list that I have been working with recently played into Innis's list yesterday on TTS. That was Alex McDougall, fellow Art of War coach, and I can report another victory for the Hive Mind.
What was the final score?
I could look it up. It was 80-something, 60-something. Yeah. Like, not a blowout, but also, not a last-minute affair.
Catan definitely struggling to Tyranids.
I would agree with that. It seems like a definitely difficult matchup. There we go. Doing a nice red dry brush on this Tech Marine. He's coming along quite well. He will definitely be ready for tomorrow's game into the Custodes that decided to betray the Lord Regent of the Imperium.
How would you design a list around a triple Tesseract Arc? I would try and get it. Essentially, you're replacing the Silent King because they're not going to benefit from his rules. So you could run a very similar list, like a Novak board control or a custom Dynasty OBSEC list, and then just throw the 3 of them in there. And they're your fire base now. They're shorter range, so they have to. You want stuff like the OBSEC Scarabs and the Warrior Bricks or Immortals protecting them, so that they don't get tagged.
Yeah, no one wants to be tagged. Okay.
But once again, like, you need to build some anti-Horden, so there might be a reason to run Warriors in that list because you need volume of fire to help the random D6 shots that you're putting out.
No matter how many paints you get, there's always another one you didn't think of.
Question for both John and Richard. Listen to your appearance on BiffPod, John, and agreed wholly with your sentiments on AdMech being a great team format faction, having the tools to counter S.
All right, I'm glad to hear that. I think AdMech are just in a very weird spot because they can counter. And I honestly think, like, if you gave me a list and said build something to beat that, I think AdMech can do it better than almost any army in the game. It just, AdMech have different tools for different things, and it's very really hard to take all come with AdMech. It's like I've seen a lot of instances of, like, I just played my S tier army and got wrecked by AdMech, and I look at the list they played against, and I'm like, has this person, like, read the Tyranid Codex in their life? And then I've seen AdMech wreck Tyranids, and I'm like, you literally don't even play the same game as Death Guard.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
Yeah, in singles, I feel like they have to go to allies, either Custodes or Sisters, but in a team environment, they are really powerful.
Absolutely.
especially on like the lighter terrain boards. You just throw AdMech out there. I don't want to play against that.
No, that Biff Pod episode, our tier ranking introduced quite a little bit of controversy into various Facebook groups and subreddits, which I found to be very amusing. But yeah, I actually put AdMech as the middle of the pack army, and
they're
a lot of people disagreed with me on that. They also said that
I low tier.
No, they said that I was high. They were like S tier or A plus.
No.
Well, the problem was that I don't practice into any good AdMech players. You know, that's the problem. Like, okay, don't know what to do here.
No, you got some great AdMech practice.
I like
the White Stars versus AdMech.
Oh yeah,
really game.
We've gotten quite a few. AdMech are great, but it's very hard to do take all come with AdMech right now, I think.
Yeah. They just don't have great board control, and board control is king right now.
And the things they need to do board control don't work against certain factions.
Yep.
And sometimes it doesn't, just like sometimes it doesn't, and it's hard.
I think Custodes and AdMech is a very strong partnership.
I would love to see a Shield Wall AdMech list.
Yeah. I came up with one, so
Hashtag
we'll
Shield
get it
Wall.
on stream.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
What do you think are the non-negotiable picks for pure AdMech armies into the changing meta, and what do we leave on the shelf? I think Scorpius Disintegrators is still amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think you go Mars, honestly, at this point, because you're not really charging any, like you're not charging Death Guard or Dark Angels, so forget about that. Bombers are great. Mortal Wounds are amazing in the meta.
I think Bombers are the non-negotiable part for me. That's like what has to be there. They're good into too many things, I think.
They're good into the toughest matchups, which is where you really need something like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the Archaeoraptor Fuselage.
Yes.
For clarity. Do you think Quins need a little reevaluation and possibly a down tune?
I actually no man. I don't at all. That was another controversial ranking. I think Harlequins are overhyped.
Yeah. The thing is, Harlequins have a lot of tricks, and it's spread out over all like a book that was never a White Dwarf rule set that a lot of people haven't seen. Yeah, it's just so they have a lot of really powerful rules all over the place. They're an army that you get a lot better with the more experienced you are playing against them.
Yep.
So like John and I were like, oh, Harlequins, awesome. I love playing against Harlequins.
Yeah, I mean, now that I've done it 20 times, like it's you're right. I know what Harlequins do.
Not to say they aren't powerful. Like John and I both played as them, and
yeah, I think that they're definitely in the upper half still. Like I would say they're like an A tier army.
They have some tough matchups though, and that is because the game has shifted towards durable obsec, and that is not what Harlequins want to play against.
No, that is very hard for them.
So like things like Death Guard and but even more specifically Dark Angels with obsec aura, it's really tough for Harlequins to put because they want to just tag objectives and take away primary points and play around the outskirts of the board, which is fine. Taking away objectives from those factions is very difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the Foul Blight Spawn will make you count as not charging, so you can't do the I fight and then I come out of combat, stuff like that. It's just tough. Yeah,
you're going to get hit a lot, way too much, and it's all just a bad combination of things for them.
What I think Harlequins need is another half of their line. They need what Custodes got. Custodes got lucky that they have a full Forge World line to add in.
Yep.
Harlequins need, like 5-6 other unit choices. They need to be fleshed out factions.
Absolutely, and that's just, expand the lore on that, give them some more unique options, give them another plastic kit or 2 or 3, and then I think that they could really have something.
How do I feel about spiders in the custom obsec list? I don't mind having like 1 or 2 floating around to help bring back the scarabs, but I'm not really bringing the 3-man unit for damage. I just don't. Damage 2 isn't great now. They're very slow, and you need to be putting Chronomancer buffs on them when you want to be putting it on scarabs and warriors or whatever. So I think they're competing in that sense, but like single ones floating around, helping bring back the obsec scarabs, I like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
How do you feel about a super defensive Custodes build that just plays the for while we stand banners and maybe engage mission specific? I think Custodes play the mission really well. They're very, very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. You can build secondaries into Custodes pretty reliably, which is very, very good for them.
Yeah, I definitely think that is absolutely viable. Now, the Telemon list, against some armies, you can't just take while we stand on the 3 of them. They're just not going to die. Or if one dies, fine. I'll still get 10 points out of it. But I haven't specifically built it into that list.
Yeah, absolutely. Be interesting to see what secondaries you take tomorrow in our matchup between the Custodes and the Ultramarines.
Probably not while we stand.
Probably not.
I mean, I could and play very defensive. It depends on the mission, but it's not something I'm going to start out by saying.
By planning on? Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. I'm actually very pleased with how this Tech Marine is coming along. This Tech Marine has like sat on my shelf as like a bare minimum 3 color painted since like SoCal last year.
I remember seeing him.
Yep, and he was not my finest work, but he's coming along very well, and I'm actually very proud of this little Tech Marine. He's getting better, folks.
Thoughts on bringing back the old chopper rule for orcs? Armor saves can't be taken better than a 4-up.
That was a very interesting one. I think that's probably not what they need to do. I just don't think that makes sense with the current AP system.
Yeah.
I would love to see buffs to choppers, because I always hate it when the power claw is like the only weapon for orcs. Which, you know what, they made kill saws relevant, so if they keep kill saws relevant, keep power claws like still fine, but then like make chop is a little bit better whenever they get around to an orc book. I would like to see that. I'm wondering when they're going to announce the next codexes. Because like this is the first time that I think that we know when a codex is coming out and we don't know the next one yet.
Yeah.
Because like when we got like the Necron and the Space Marine Codex, they had already announced that like Space Wolves and Deathwatch were coming out.
Yeah. Is there a big Warhammer World thing coming up soon? Or?
Not that I'm aware of, but frankly, they usually announce them like a week or two in advance, so it's possible that we get one. Because we know that Dark Elder pre-order on March 20th, that was announced on the Warhammer community website. So this is no longer, my friend who's a store manager's cousin, like none of that anymore. But I would love to see this Dark Elder Codex, and I would love to see what Games Workshop has for us next. I think Sisters are most obvious guess from a model standpoint, because like they previewed multiple new sister kits, so like you would expect a codex there. But they've also previewed new Atomic and Orc models.
Yep.
And of those, I actually think Orcs are most likely because they announced that Atomic are part of the campaign. So like you could logically see Atomic get models in a campaign, but then like they previewed at least one Orc model, and he has like a you can see a bolt weapon, so you know it's not Sigmar. It's like maybe it's Orcs. We can hope. Because that's one of those armies that I think we both had in our wish list as things that we love.
Yeah. Their traits are very good.
Mm-hmm.
Orc traits are very good.
That's true. Like, orcs have some cool stuff. Now, they've never really been an army for me because they've always for me been like the play style. Like, we're going to be super random, but there's so much random it's consistent. And frankly, you can't be so random that it's consistent for me. Like, I really like consistent armies. So that's why I've never really been drawn to an orc army the way that I've at least humored the idea of most Xenos factions. I mean, I even had an LR phase, but we will see.
And a Tau phase.
Did I have a Tau phase?
Yeah.
I played one game with Tau.
That's the game I'm talking about.
Yeah, I lost.
Not for lack of trying though.
I you know what? I did put a genuine effort into it. I took Farsight, which I think should count for something. I respect Farsight because he has a sword. That's pretty cool.
Do you have to bring, I get this question a lot, do you have to bring the plane back the next turn after flying it off the board, or can you keep it off till turn 5?
That is actually something I haven't even looked at. I've always wanted my planes on the board immediately, so I've just been bringing them back.
I think you have to bring it back the following turn.
I recall that it's the following turn as well. I think it says you may bring it in the following turn from reserve, and it doesn't give you a clause for bringing it in on turns other than the following one. Therefore, it would just not exist, and then it would die at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So that's my recollection. But frankly, I would say crack open that GT pack. Something that we all fall habit of not doing enough sometimes. And then see for yourself, or if you're not sure after reading it, ask your local TL. Yeah, I do think it's next turn though.
Yeah. Like
90% sure.
I thought I looked it up for our stream game.
Yeah, I think I recall that as well.
Mr. Lennon, if you could create your own balanced unit for the White Scars, what would it be? What would rules be?
My own balanced unit, you say? I would love to have a Primaris, like an Outrider veteran style. Like White Scars and Bikes go together, like peanut butter and jelly. And I would love to see like an Outrider style unit that has rounders, which are little small shields, kind of like the way the Con bike does, as well as Gundowser scimitars or other White Scar aesthetic power weapons. And most especially, each one is accompanied by a hunting bird that does a mortal wound on the 4+, and they're all named Anzac.
Reginald. What about Reginald?
No, it's Anzac.
Reginald.
Reginald's okay.
We had Reginald.
We did have Reginald, but Anzac kills. That's what I would like. I'm mostly joking about the birds, although I do love having birds on as many models as possible when it comes to my white scars. I do love birds. Forks mean birds, right?
There's a very fun game called Mysterium that we play, and Nick is a very interesting person to have as the ghost.
Absolutely.
He thinks completely different than the rest of us, so it's a wild time.
Oh yeah, it's super fun.
Ran 2 heavy intercessors with Hellstorms in my white scars yesterday. Really enjoyed them. Do you think it's worth the extra points with so much strength 4 and damage 2 shooting?
What? Ran what?
The Hellstorms? I think those are one of the speeders.
The Storm Speeders? Ooh. Storm Speeders are cool as long as you can keep them safe, and frankly, they're just very fragile for the points. Like, their damage output is there, honestly. Like, their damage output keeps making me come back to them. It's like, I want to take this. But then I keep, like, rereading, and I'm like, ooh, 180 points and toughness, like, 6 to, like, 10 wounds. I'm like, no, I no longer want this.
Do Dark Angels give them buffs? Can they be
They do get the Ravenwing buffs, and like that's genuinely tempting.
That's tempting, yeah. When do we get that Art of War vs. Viewers StarCraft 2 stream? If that is popular, please do let us know because we want to make it happen. John and I will play games with you
I am so bad at StarCraft, folks. I really am. I will like spend like an entire weekend like practicing just to get my APM up to 50. So I'm ready to play you folks.
I've been trying to get John away from the scrolling on the screen.
I'm working on my hotkeys. I am because I have not used hotkeys traditionally, just because I don't.
You know, Brian actually brought that up to me.
I'm sure he did.
Your builds and stuff. I was like, Brian, no, John's learning.
Yeah, like I keep telling Brian like because we often play with his brother Brian Siegler.
Yeah.
And like I fully acknowledge I am a noob for StarCraft. Like I'm not. Like, I just walked into the StarCraft Games Workshop store and bought my first start collecting Ultramarines because I like blue.
Yeah.
Like...
Brian and I have been playing since StarCraft 1.
Yeah, like, no, I've been playing since StarCraft 1.
John, in the VidPod, you said that Dark Elder might be close to S tier right now. Was that a serious comment?
Yes, because racks are actually really silly. However, having played actually against Dark Elder this past weekend, I think I would just give them a healthy A+. They're not S tier. But, I mean, honestly, with the Dark Elder Codex so close, like, I mean, maybe. But at the GT I went to, there was a top 5 primarily Dark Elder army. It was Dark Elder with a little bit of Elder allies. Yep. That was from Ruben Fernandez, a very, very good friend of us. Who was a teammate from the last time we went to a team tournament. Oh, God. So long ago. So it was really cool to see him do well with them. I think Dark Elder definitely have some very competitive tools right now, but it's probably not worth investing in them because they're about to change. It may be the same tools, it may be better, it may be worse, I don't really know. But for right now, those racks are nasty.
Been playing some Knights and Dark Angels Soup, having quite a bit of success into some meta armies. Still not played into Sisters yet, which might be the nail in the coffin. Sisters are tough for the Knights. Because
Sisters are rare is the best part, though.
Yeah.
Like, Sisters, you can totally go to a tournament and just not play against Sisters and, like, not feel lucky.
TTS, it's not quite as rare.
No, TTS, they're everywhere because that people actually have every army on TTS.
Yeah.
It's like on TTS, like, you'll see people bring, like, 18 AdMech chickens, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, here are my 6 bombers and 18 chickens. I'm like, you did not take out a mortgage for a tournament.
Yeah.
Like, don't even lie to me.
Yeah, like, I've resisted that just because I'm waiting for the AdMech Codex.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally makes sense.
The chickens are crazy, and they're annoying to build.
Yep.
Building 12 of them was enough.
Yeah, that is more than enough, I think.
I heard John won a GT with his NID list. What GT was it, and what was his list?
It was the Salt Classic, and that is can be found on BCP, and we'll be talking about it in the Worm, but for the list, just a quick little summary for you. It was a Kraken battalion with the Swarm Lord, a Flying Hive Tyrant with the Resonance Barb, and Devours and Monsters Running Claws, and then 20 Hormagaunts, 10 Hormagaunts, 30 Termagants with Devours. We had a Lictor, we had 2 Demacarons, and then we had a Krauts Patrol with a Neurothrope, 3 Rippers, 10 more Hormagaunts, 6 Hive Guard, and an Exocrine. And that turned out to be the winning recipe. I was very, very pleased with how the list played. Every single part of the list felt like it had a very good role and had some games where it was clutch. Mm-hmm. Like, even the odd elements, like the Lictor was genuinely amazing in 2 different matchups.
Did you use the strat?
I used the strat multiple times. I used it against Nick. I used it in 2 other games. The Lictor strat's amazing. Oh, yeah. I reminded him. Not even gonna lie to you, I spent a command point to like double move a lictor and sent him like 28 inches just to go contest an objective that they had a dreadnought on. Like I was gonna kill this dreadnought. I was like, all right, go. The lictor just like once he was down, he's just behind a wall. I'm like, all right, we'll just throw a couple command points at him and run, boy, run.
But if you want to see that Tyranid list in action, you can see it this Thursday against my Necrons in the War Room. Very exciting matchup. Spoke with some ETC players earlier today. They seem unimpressed with Necrons and the Silent King, even more so compared to Admech Breachers and Dark Angels. Interesting. I think Silent King build is very all-comers, which is typically rare in the ETC, from my own impression of some of the lists that we see there. But John is probably the most experienced in the world playing against it. So if you want to
I actually think that as much as I like the Silent King build here, I think that it has a few hard counters, the same way as the Catan build. I think that it really depends on how you want to use Necrons and pairings. So it depends on, are you trying to put it into a specific thing or avoid a specific thing? Because like there are lists that want to play against a few things and you kind of aim it at those, and there are lists that you keep away from like just not this one thing. And I think that the Silver Tide is better at just avoid the couple of things, and that makes it take all comer. But then like the Catan build is you're pointing it at something.
Really like
and when you do that, I think that the Catan build is better for teams. It's just that it requires a lot more effort in the pairings process because you can't have too many armies do that.
Yeah.
So like if I like had like 6 very take all comer lists and players, and then I was adding a Necron, I would probably go for Catan build.
Yeah.
But if I already had a couple of very specialized things, like like a janky Dark Talon list, and like
that had
very specific roles, and like I need to pick up another take all comer here, Silver Tide for me. They just both have different roles depending on how you want to play them. And again, Necrons have wonderful, diverse options. Every Codex has like a couple of duds, but across the board, Necrons have multiple viable dynasties. You can argue for named ones and custom ones. You can argue for named characters.
I think their customs are some of the best in the game.
I think their customs are the best in the game, but they still have some named dynasties that like actually are worth taking despite that.
Yeah.
So I really think it just depends on what the team needs.
Yeah. I think the only big miss from the Necron book was their shooting elements. Particularly the non-core ones. If they just get a little points decreases here and there, I think they'll be...
Yeah, we'll see if Games Workshop implements that.
Yeah. Would making Space Marine Reavers or Hellblasters troops make them viable at all, do you think?
100%, actually. I think that even though they already have OBSEC, basically anyway from Rights of War, they're both actually very close to competitive. Hellblasters are really not as bad as people think. Like, they've been a joke for a while, but like when you start comparing them to Inceptors, the damage output actually is relatively comparable. I think that Hellblasters actually are almost better in Dark Angels specifically. Almost, not fully better, but almost better than Inceptors and Dark Angels, where you can do a lot of buffs on them. And you know what? Making them OBSEC would not hurt the argument at all. Reavers, I think being troops would 100% just make them the go-to troop, actually. If Reavers were troops, I think I would take 15 Reavers and no other troops, honestly.
More than Infiltrators? 1 unit?
Yeah, because like maybe 1 unit of Infiltrators still, but like you get a cheaper troop choice because they're the cheapest Primaris body in the game is a Reaver. It's cheaper than an Assault Intercessor. It's good in combat. It has good strats. It has the Phobos keyword.
Yeah, Phobos keyword's great.
Phobos keyword's great. I think I would take 2 units of Reavers if they were troops.
Okay, yeah. And that makes
maybe 1 unit of Infiltrators still.
Yeah, Infiltrators is just so good.
Infiltrators are
wanting to take
every once in a while, and Infiltrator is just what you need.
What if we do YouTube play StarCraft 2 versus John? That might be a fair fight. What we would probably do is do custom games and then have like a 4v4 going on between people, or
2v2. Take two painfully average players. Have me as the below average, Shigler as the above average. It's like no problem.
Let's try and get as many people involved.
Yeah. We can do 4v4.
But we can create a separate chat in the StarCraft 2 app and
I love that.
Do a little art award gathering. So I played a game with a melee heavy army into a Space Wolf army that went all in on the Fight Last abilities, Judiciary, the Whirlwinds, the Armor of Rust, and spells, and got wrecked. What's the counterplay for Black Templars?
Oh man, that's the thing. Space Wolves are so great when they don't have to get to combat.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the counterplay is choosing what you're engaging and bringing your own fight last. So I think that Black Templars 100% need a Judiciary. I think a Judiciary is literally mandatory in Black Templars. most specifically, like not only do they have a trait for 6-inch rogue intervention, my absolute favorite, but if you're going to devout push into something, you physically need the Justiciar to make sure you're fighting first. And you can devout push a Justiciar in your opponent's charge phase and then choose something to fight last.
Yep.
So you could move 6 inches and then pick something in 3, and a 9-inch aura of I could make you fight last. That's really scary. Let's see.
I'd be keen to verse you at some StarCraft 2. 50 APM is all that's required to win with Protoss. You are not wrong. Protoss.
I should play Protoss if I'm going to be this slow, but I like Terran. It's more interesting, a little more challenging for me.
Do you guys ever get tired of answering these questions here? Also, do you guys ever get tired of answering? Oh yeah, it says same thing. Not really. No. I mean, the meta is constantly shifting, and we get a fairly diverse amount of questions, honestly.
And honestly, I just like talking 40K.
Yeah, and the thing is, even when there's like the Death Guard FAQ came out and kind of throughout the day, everybody was asking about whether it works on such and such. We don't have the actual answer.
Yeah.
It's up to Games Workshop to make clear FAQs, but we're still happy to, engage with our community. That's really what these are about.
100%.
What units do you surround Bobby G with? Can't decide between Ultramarines and Black Templars. What is cooler from a lore perspective and why?
I mean, from a lore perspective, you would want to just do Ultramarines because, it's Bobby G. Like, he goes with the Ultramarines. Although Custodes actually do look pretty cool with Bobby. I personally like putting Dreadnoughts and some powerful shooting and a lot of counterattack. I don't like to make Ultramarines an assault army, but they're a great counter-assault army because they have enough guns to make people want to be close, and they hit harder than your average Space Marine still. Like, I know, like, Ultramarines in close combat, like, you're laughing. But, like, I think a unit of Assault Intercessors with Ultramarines, I think you can have them put out 51 attacks on the charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh.
That's plenty of attacks.
Yeah. Actually, I'm sorry, you can do 61 attacks on the charge.
61.
61. And then you can fight twice, so that's 122. Like...
Should be enough.
Wow. That's actually going to leave a mark. And people just don't expect that from Ultramarines, which I love. I'm going to steal a little bit of this.
What do you surround Bobby G with?
Oh, I just like to put Intercessors and, like, 2 Dreadnoughts around him, honestly. Like, I don't really surround him with anything. I like having Winning to Victor's Guard, actually. Just because character blocking shenanigans can be oh so good.
Yeah. Blade Guard?
I actually don't love Blade Guard and Ultramarines. They're definitely not bad at all. I just find that you have enough kind of ambient close combat that I don't need to invest in a dedicated one. But having the nice tough unit is actually what appeals to me more. It's the Storm Shields that I want, not the Power Swords.
Yeah. So,
like, I definitely would consider that. And honestly, I may take them tomorrow. I haven't finalized the list yet. I just know that there's going to be a primary stack Marine in it.
Yes, the returning feeling of when John or Richard has played the same faction as me. I own 2,000 to 3,000 points, but only 4 of the models they used. I assume that's especially when Forge World comes into being.
Oh, yeah. I am notorious for taking my Forge World units when a faction needs a little extra boost. That's all right. No Forge World in my Space Marines for a while, at least.
They don't need it.
They do not.
Love to 1v1 versus Ziegler, though. But we can make it happen.
100%.
Definitely make it happen. I don't play regularly anymore, so it's just whenever I'm chilling with John.
Mm-hmm.
But used to be pretty decent.
Yeah, he's still smarter than your average bear.
Sees, what's your opinion on the Silent King not getting his dynastic code? Seems that's the case with Raw. Yeah, I mean, I asked this to the rules, through their FAQ email system. Was never answered. I feel like they should just errata it into his data sheet and just give it to him. It makes sense that as the head of his dynastic code, he would have it. But instead of working around that actual rule and changing it or rewording it or giving the Silent King an exception, just add it to his data sheet.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, because it would make sense for, Zarek to have the Zarek trait.
It's his dynasty.
But also, like, it would make sense for Gene Stealers to be part of a Gene Stealer cult.
I don't disagree there. I think they should be.
Yep. So, like, oh, GW.
Yeah.
You just love doing the thing.
Did I miss the discussion of that 5th place Vibro Cannon list? We did mention it briefly, run by our friend Ruben Fernandez, but John, if you want to talk more specifically about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love Racks and Venoms, and like MSU just has such a great play in the current meta. And the Vibro Cannons are really good shooting into certain subjects. And they're just very efficient. That whole like shooting detachment is less than 500 points, I think. And that's what makes it so good. It's not that it's like incredible OP shooting, it's just very cheap for what you're getting. And I think that's very valuable for the Dark Eldar right now. That honestly could be a popular ally detachment, depending on what the pure buff is for Dark Eldar. I could certainly see that being an explorable ally. But either way, I honestly like it. Like I really liked how that list came together. I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to play against it, although truthfully I was really looking forward to it because I thought that would be a very interesting game. Tyranids versus that kind of list I thought was going to be very, very weird. Has an opportunity to be very fun. So, but I think it's a great list. I'm just really excited to see how it adapts to the new Codex, which is really all that matters now.
Outside of Warriors, is it worth picking up multiple copies of the Indominus Necrons? You do get some useful characters out of there, and especially you do get Scarabs. Scarabs are some of the best units of the game just because of how cheap they are for the amount of wounds they bring. They're amazing at soaking up mortal wounds, which is one of the things Necron Warriors don't want to see.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan of having access to the Scarabs because a lot of lists are heading towards 27 OBSEC Scarabs.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be really strong.
How consistently do armies that aren't top tier win events? Is it a bell curve, or do you find the same 3-6 armies win most events?
I think it's 100% bell curve. Even armies that are not typically winning tournaments, such as Tyranids, can pull off a GT like they did this weekend.
Yeah, and especially RTTs too.
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah, anything can win. I don't think there's a single army in the game that can't win an RTT right now. Yeah. Like not a single one. Like
certainly wouldn't be easy. That's not to say.
No, nothing's easy. But
you bring Tau to an RTT, they expect to win.
Yeah, it would be easier for me to pick up a space for an army than a Tau army if I wanted to win a given RTT. But a practiced opponent can go 3-0 with almost anything. Yeah. In my experience, at least. Yeah. Experience outranks everything.
I think the Airburst list that I have is actually quite good into certain meta armies. Like Sisters
absolutely.
Especially.
Oh yeah, I could see that for sure.
Like, I don't want to take that many shots on Overwatch.
Yeah, no one does.
Remember when I had to? It's like, no, Tau actually still do have old Overwatch, John.
Overwatch and multi. I did not like that.
The company commander is about to come out. He's like, no. Let me walk that back. And back onto these
we're just gonna move away. I was trying to be cute and decided that was not the option.
Guys, I have to play against Death Guard. No more tearing with my Custodes. What are the best Custodes units for this matchup? Can I win the primary scoring? You can indeed. Custodian guards with storm shields are some of the best troops in the entire game right now. They are incredibly 100%. Durable. Death Guard don't have amazing answers. There are specific lists that build in a lot of mortal wounds, but that's very rare, and they require a bunch of psychic powers and stuff going off. So you're not really taking a ton of mortals. So I like having a couple of those storm shield units just to immediately move advance them onto objectives and just leave them out there, getting you primary points, or going to make charge moves and denying your opponent primary points. You've seen it, John, using the shield wall list. They just survive, and they rack up a ton of primary points for you in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other units that are good, I think the Telemon is very good into Death Guard. Being able to turn off rerolls, not to mention having the Arachna Storm Cannon for killing their Dreads or their Plague Burst Crawlers is very nice. Flat 4 damage in combat is also amazing into Death Guard, especially those Terminator builds where you come in and every failed save is a dead Terminator.
Absolutely. Flat damage 4, oh, that's so spicy. Going down to damage 3 is not that big of a deal.
Nope, that's where you want to be.
That's where you want to be anyway.
So I think those are some of the highlight units that you want to start with.
Yep, I would agree fully.
Do you guys think it's particularly worth souping other Chaos into Death Guard, given the likelihood that once Chaos Space Marines 1000 Suns release, Warp Time will become Legion locked? Is that just learning to play with a crutch? It's really the case of using the tools at your disposal.
Yep.
And if you want to build a freaky Chaos soup list like Mark Perry prefers, it has tons of power, and it's a list that's probably going to survive at least another couple months. So why not just get experience playing it and try and win the events that you're going to?
Absolutely. Nothing is going to last forever when it comes to rules. Like even the new Death Guard Codex will eventually be the old Death Guard Codex. So I don't think at all that there's a downside on it from a practice perspective of playing with rules. Now, if it's something like the Dark Eldar Codex, where again they have announced a new one, maybe you don't need to really go invest the time into it unless if the goals that you have fall into the time frame currently available. But, you know, I think other than that, you're good.
How did you guys do in your very first tournament that you went to?
Ooh, my very first RTT. I'll tell you this. I went 1-2. My first game, I lost to an Eldar player. His name was Fred. Really nice guy. Never met him again. I was in like 8th grade at the time. He had like Wave Serpents and like Falcons and Aspect units, and I just had like one of each unit, like Tyranid thing, and I just got wrecked. Very simple. Then I played against some Chaos Space Marines, you know, like I think there was a Defiler, there was some Corn Berserkers and Rhinos, and I got wrecked again. And then I played Necrons, and I thought I was getting wrecked, but I accidentally phased him out and won. This was 5th edition.
It's a long
It was a long time ago. Got that win in round 3, and that was it.
My first tournament was it was like the second year of 8th edition, and this was before like they really started doing the big FAQs.
Yeah.
So I went 2-1 at the RTT in Orlando, and I ended up playing 2 Team Brohammer members, and that's how I met the team.
Yep.
And then got invited to play with them, and I played Jeff Berry round 1. I was playing Custodes with a guard detachment, and he was playing a bunch of Dark Reapers with 3 Crimson Hunters and Jinx and Doom, and that was a tough matchup.
Yep.
I only lost by like 9 points, so it was actually a pretty good game. But it was definitely tough. I actually got to play with my captain into his Farseer and killed him.
Oh, that's pretty
getting
cool.
rid of Doom. But I ended up losing game 1, and then I won the next game against Death Guard. That was when Plague Burst Crawler spam still existed. So I played into that and just went from wrapping to wrapping with my bike units. And then the final one I played into Blood Angels, used my guard units to soak the charges.
Learning to wrap.
Yep.
Look at that. All grown up.
That was
Off to a hot start there.
that was the first tournament I played at.
Yep.
And then one of the next ones was a GT. That was the time I met Lennon.
Yep.
I went 4-1 in the first GT I played.
Yes, that was a DACACon.
Yep.
Back in the Tampa Bay area. Yeah, I was playing. That was back when I was in my Eldar phase.
Yeah, that was playing Tau.
Yep.
Good times.
Didn't you actually play Bear of Big Bear 3D? No.
Yeah.
No?
I played him round 1 and lost to him.
Yep. And then
That's
right
the
to the top.
Castellan went crazy on me, and I just failed all the savior protocols,
Mm-hmm.
and just lost too much early.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Those darn Castellans,
It was a
folks.
Castellan on Planet Bowling Ball. I was like, this is great. I was like, hopefully the drones can help me, and it was just didn't roll hot enough.
Totally makes sense.
It was really I needed to go first.
Yep.
But still, I defeated a whole bunch of other players. In that event.
Absolutely. Very nice.
Including Yunari with Tau. That's one of the times I beat Yunari round 5.
Ooh.
I took your advice to not take Bulgrins and instead take more DACA, so I thought of 3 units of veterans with Meltas and Chimeras and/or Valkyries, so veterans, or 2 special weapon squads instead.
I like special weapon teams more than veterans just because for the point you are the one we're supposed to kill. You just get a lot more shots.
Yeah, just the cheapness of them.
The cheapness is very nice. They're very disposable units. I mean, I think it's 49 points. So I think you can get 2 special weapon teams loaded up with 6 plasma guns for less than 100 points. And I seem to recall that 10 veterans with 3 plasma guns is 100 on the dot, off memory. Might be 90.
Yeah,
it's pretty high.
Very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learned to wrap and then immediately had to forget it all when he switched to Tau. Won't be needing these rules anymore, and that is where you were wrong. I did so much wrapping with Tau, and it caught people off.
And he got wrapped with Tau. Hey.
But that was one of the secret sauces of Tau, is actually wrapping people with Riptides.
Yep. Because
Like-
you could fall back and shoot.
Against Imperial Guard, I wrapped all the time. Like
Oh, of
armies that
course.
really didn't have much counter assault.
Mhm.
Even if they did have a little bit, 3-up invulns, go wrap things, don't get shot at.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty powerful. That's when you could Nova boost into combat too.
Oh, I hate it. That was.
Remember, you
I-
move 6 inches, then you make your charge move.
Yeah, I know exactly what that was. That was.
Awesome.
I hate it. That was just
That's the
Poorly
Tau
written.
ability.
poorly written rules right there.
It only took them 3 years to fix, John.
No problem.
And it's funny because Tau had 4 or 5 rules that could do the same thing,
Uh,
and they slowly changed them, but not all.
It's like the Grey Knight like 2-up invulns, how they've removed they just keep removing them one at a time, and the other rules are like, are we meant to be here? And they just still are, and then they just get removed.
That's
one
why
at
it
a
would
time.
just help to come out and be like, "There's no,
No 2-up
you
invulns.
cannot, just a general FAQ, you cannot improve your invuln beyond a 3-up.
Yeah.
Regardless of source, doesn't matter.
I just want them to say that add 1 to your saving roll and add 1 to your saving throw is the same darn thing. Like, well, technically I have a 3-up invuln and I add 1 to the roll.
Yep.
I'm like, get out of here. That's a 2-up invuln.
Yep. It smells like a 2-up invuln. It is.
It's a 2-up invuln.
What is your honest opinion on the Canoptic list? Is it too much of a one-trick pony or 2 points wounds efficient to ignore? I have a client who runs the OPSEC Custom Dynasty build, and he has done extremely well with it on TTS. I personally think it has some tough matchups, and those tough matchups happen to be some of the armies we play in the stream house. So that's why I am more nervous to play it. But Nick has tried it, and Grey Knights ran him over, but he did much better with. He did much better into Chaos. So
He's slowly learning the way of the Necrons.
Honestly, that list does. It's once again like there are some really tough matchups out there, but in a team tournament where you can kind of play around the matchups, very, very powerful.
Yep.
And just having OPSEC on everything is great.
Oh yeah, that's always a very, very strong ability.
If you were to play Mikey from Hellstorm on his stream, would you rather crush his spears with a power fist or embarrass him with an underpowered list? I love Mikey, so I wouldn't want to embarrass him at all. He's a really good dude, and Hellstorm guys are awesome. We're very big fans of theirs.
Absolutely.
What was the worst game of 40K you've ever had? If you had any, that is. I have been very fortunate, and I have not had to play against people who, there's only like a small minority of the community who is kind of like, rules lawyering and doing all sorts of shenanigans. I haven't had to play against any people like that. I've had really good games against even people with more dubious reputations. I've had good games with them.
Yep.
And I think part of that just comes down to the confidence and me knowing their rules as well as they do. So when they're doing things, I'm like, okay, so here come your immortals. They're going to be moving 7 inches this turn because you have 5-inch base move, +1 from the protocol, +1 from Relentless March. Just like walking it through like that, they know there's no room for shenanigans. Yep. So not everybody has that level of comfort though. So there are people out there who are going to try and do shenanigans, but it's such a small minority. So I haven't had any bad games like that.
Absolutely. So I've been playing 40K for the tournaments, at least for significantly longer than Richard, and I've had a few games that were not great, but I will say I think the community as a whole has improved vastly over the past couple of years, especially since some notorious incidents at LVO that really put a spotlight on good conduct in the community. So I mean, I don't want to frankly dig up old bones. We're sure I've had some games that I really didn't enjoy, but recently I feel like the community has really improved.
Yeah, the standard of sportsmanship.
And especially knowing rules in general and just being clear is just a great way around it. I've played some notorious bad actors when I was young, and I frankly got taken advantage of in a bad way. I went to a GT once where I was 16 years old. I started 4-0 and lost round 5 after reserving over 600 points of my 1850 list, and we only played 2 turns. And after the game, I was like, man, how did we only get 2 turns? Because I'm a 16-year-old. I didn't know how this happened. He's like, I don't know, man, bad luck. And then he just won. I'm like, great. It's like, yeah.
Chess clocks also.
Yeah, but that was 5th edition.
Yeah.
So since then, the game has just progressively gotten better, and the players have become more enjoyable.
Do you feel that 9th rewards skill more or less than 8th? I think it does. I think the missions are more skill oriented.
Absolutely.
I think coming in with a pre-game.
Yeah. 8th and 9th were both massive improvements over 7th, where 7th really felt like it was list oriented.
Yep.
And 8th and 9th both feel very
It's about the game
being played. And I think 9th probably a little bit more than 8th rewards that, but they're both miles ahead of previous editions.
Yeah. I think the missions are more interactive.
I think that's the big thing. Because I do like the champ missions.
They were very good.
I did like the champ missions a lot. They were so much better than the GW missions at the time, but I think I like the current missions even more than that.
Yeah. Necrons were my first army back in 3rd and got 16th out of 50th at my first tournament. I really want to go back to Necrons, but I'm afraid that the meta here is just too competitive. Well, Necrons are a great army to start with. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of viable builds, and their stuff is just baseline very powerful because they have solid data sheets, and their dynasties are quite powerful.
Yeah.
So even just showing up with a list, and the way to get into competitive 40K is just start playing games. It's all about experience with your list, making fine tunings, which is what we do all the time.
Oh, all the time.
Just building up experience, and then you'll meet a community of friends that you'll play tons of games with, and that's how you get better.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll keep you invested in the game as well if you have a local community or a local team.
Yeah.
How does their Numbers Legion interact with Orb of Eternity? Which one is their Numbers Legion? I forget which rule that is.
I don't know.
I'm not remembering which rule that is.
Yeah, I'd say I know a lot of rules in the game. I usually don't remember the name of the rule.
Yeah. Which rule is that? And then I'll come back to your question. You think Custodes with Guard is viable now? Maybe a shield wall by Captain Termes with some full payload Manticores, bunch of guardsmen with Vexilla Defensor, just shooting in the dark here. Guard and Custodes is definitely a very powerful suit build. Anyway, we think Custodes can ally with pretty much any of the.
Yeah, I think Space Marines are and even then maybe Dark Angels. Talon Masters and Shield Wall would be.
It'd be powerful.
It would
and
be.
the Dark Talons.
But it'd be the exact same, frankly, as just being Terminators.
Sorry, didn't mean bad game as an opponent was bad. It meant like bad game where things just went terribly wrong dice-wise.
Oh, yes. Yes. So, as coaches of the Art of War, we always say that you never blame the dice. However, I always like to, kind of wink and nod and say, all right, you can blame the dice once per edition. That's my rule. I get one dice game per edition, and I haven't had one in 9th yet. I had one in 8th, I had one in 7th. The one in 7th I got, I had this was at ATC, I had a judge rule that the Warp Storm could hit Flying Watch's creatures. And I found it after the fact that they had FAQ'd specifically the opposite, but that was okay. And I had a demon player who had the Warp Storm, and he had all the walking big demons. And he decided he was just going to walk his Bloodthirsters around and wait for my Hive turns. So I was playing five flying Hive turns to crash. And the Warp Storm hits on a 6. And then if it does a wound, you can fail a grounding check. And I had 4 Flyrants out of 5 get hit on a 6. All 4 of them failed their grounding checks. All 4 of them got charged by walking Bloodthirsters. And that was just one turn where he literally landed with I just hope this is going to work because I've got nothing else. And it just did. And I was like, what? It was just one of those moments. I'm like, this isn't even real. And it just happened and I just lost it. I'm like, this is incredible. But one per edition. One per edition is what I get. Yeah. I think that's fair.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's just I didn't even know what to do.
You can do against that.
Yeah, because I thought the Warp Storm didn't even work on me. I'm like, he has no guns, the Warp Storm doesn't hit me, I literally can't be targeted, I'm just going to fly right in front of him. And then the judge is like, oh yeah, he can. I'm like, oh crap. And then it happened. I was like, oh my goodness.
Would have planned differently.
I would have, yeah. It was all kinds of rough.
Do you think that the Codex secondaries should be banned, restricted until more of the field have access to these tools? I think they should just do a little, FAQ or supplement where each
what if
faction
instead
gets
of an Exorcist index in the White Dwarf, they just gave one secondary to every faction?
One secondary to every faction that doesn't have a Codex yet.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of banning new rules because people don't have them. Because frankly,
Games Workshop isn't. They don't want to take away rules that are just
some people have their toys, and I don't want to take away. I want to give toys to everyone. I don't want to take away people's toys.
Richard, do you think the Rhino is now mandatory in Grey Knight Purifier builds? I don't think it's mandatory, but it's so nice because really what it allows you to do is if you have a Terminator unit or another Purifier unit, that one gets Astrolane. The other one walks out, shoots with line of sight, and comes back into the Rhino safely. I think it's a great tool to have. You can also Gate of Infinity late game, right, John?
Ooh, you can, and I know you can. I didn't know you could.
You guys talked about Deathwatch a bit a few months ago, but it seemed like it never materialized into a real list. We played it twice in the War Room. The reason we haven't played it is because it relies on heavy intercessors, and we don't really like proxying on the mainstream.
Yeah.
So, however, those heavy intercessors are coming out, and Nick is very excited. I've given him tons of Deathwatch bits. He has all the frag cannons in the world. He is going to be playing Deathwatch.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to happen. I'm really excited to see it.
So Nick is indeed very excited about Deathwatch, so we will be having them more.
Right on.
That's reroll ones.
On the Warriors?
Yeah.
RPs? That makes sense.
So is it impossible to roll a 1, or you do reroll the ones before adding the 1? I think it works where you reroll the ones.
I would assume it because you do rerolls before modifiers in most situations.
Yep.
So I would guess that this is one of them.
Yeah. I think that makes the most sense.
Yep.
How would you build a competitive Iron Hands list for 9th edition? Haven't seen anyone run them since 8th.
I would take a character Contemptor Dreadnought with double Volpit Culverins and put them in Dev Doctrine every turn and give them the Exploding Sixes spoiler trait. Because we've seen Volkite Dreadnoughts do really good for Death Guard, where you use the Inexorable to give them an extra AP. When you're in Dev Doctrine, you just get it, and then you just...
And Exploding Sixes from
the you reroll 1s all the time. And you can get Exploding Sixes from the Warlord trait, always be in Dev Doctrine. You can put out really good firepower there, and then have like tough, typical Iron Hand things. Like honestly, like I would take a Primaris Tech Marine, a couple Redemptors, you know, things like that. Maybe one tank in the Ironstone, but honestly, I don't even think you need to. I mean, you can do some really cool things with Iron Hands still. They're not as flashy or dynamic as a lot of other chapters right now, and they're not as just raw power anymore.
Yeah.
But I still can see the appeal there.
They're still Marines.
They're still Marines. Like they can still be competitive.
Yep.
Steel Armor, the spells also actually. You know what? I actually played against a big brick of Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators this weekend, and like honestly, I was just like, oh man, Iron Hands. Like I haven't seen this in a while. And he just went first, rolled a 6 on advance, and put the Terminators directly forward into her own, and gave them Steel Armor. And I was like looking at them, and I'm like, all right, I've got an X-Screen right here. They're not -1 damage. I was like, I can make him damage 3. And I'm like, hold on. He has a -1 up armor save right now. Like, I'm not shooting this.
No, you have to ignore it, man.
Yeah, I literally can no longer kill this unit. The worst part is he put a Collectus in front of it. So, like, he was in front of my Smite Battery with a Collectus in front. The X-Screen shot the Collectus, 4/7 saves. He was 7 out of 7 on Invulns. I'm like, I guess I'm running around you. Like, I'm not going through this ever. And that Terminator Brick and Collectus literally just went into my backfield, and I, like, the things that were fast left and went to his side and took that over, and the things that weren't fast got killed. And I was like, wow. Like, I won that game, but it was a little bit more sweaty than I was expecting for
Iron Hands.
For Iron Hands. I'm like, you know what? This was kind of cool.
I hope I have not... I hope not. I just had like $1,000 in Marines delivered yesterday, and I'm using them for my first army. Deathwatch. No, Deathwatch are actually very good. First of all, they're Marines with a ton of extra special rules on top of them, and those rules are very powerful. Their Psychic Discipline's great, Warlord traits, relics, all that's great, and they have very good data sheets in their kill teams. So
yeah, absolutely.
Don't worry about that. You're going to be in a great place with Deathwatch. And keep tuning into the channel because Nick is going to be showing off his ideas.
We have a lot of stuff in the mail. We have some stuff that's already wrecked. We're going to be working on painting it. I'm really excited to get it up.
Your game at LVO, John, against Brad was the worst case of bad dice I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But even so, I don't use my 1 per edition on that one, mostly because I used it on a different game. And also, as bad as that was, frankly, I didn't need to be in a position to roll well if I had played perfectly earlier.
Yeah.
I made a mistake that was a very recoverable one. Unfortunately, my plan for recovering from it did involve moderate to slightly below average dice rolls being required, and it didn't account for turbo bad dice rolls.
Yep.
And but you know what? When you make a mistake, sometimes you lose your safety net.
Yep.
And so I won't blame the dice on that one, even though, yeah, I'll take the 99.87% chance of making the LVO finals that I had. Usually I'll take that.
Are broadside spam lists real or meme? Can Tau do anything meaningful after their changes? Tau can. I don't think it's broadside spam. I think on like very light terrain, 9 broadsides can do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just surrounding it with like crude or breachers. However, they are very susceptible to getting tagged or wrapped because they can't fly.
Yeah, 100%. So, that's where you need a crude screen to scout forward.
And then they get wrapped.
Just for breakout. Just for breakout.
Okay. So
totally fine.
You string them out, so if you lose one, you pull like half the unit at a coherency.
That is my favorite
trick.
That's what you do. That's my favorite
That's
trick.
Really what you do. And you're like, all these crews, just get them off my table.
When I did that to Nick, he was like, oh.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, we're not doing this.
But no, like broadsides with the custom set for extra AP, super solid. I think they do have some tough matchups against very fast mobile armies that can wrap and tag them. But, you know, at the end, because they're also not vehicles or monsters, so they can't shoot into combat either.
Yeah, of course.
So Moncal lets them fall back and shoot for now, but that's not really enough if your opponent's good.
Yep.
John, do you like the Tyranid Warrior 9-man sheep as possible in the NID list?
Honestly, no, because I feel like it's too many resources that you want to put into other things. You can make warriors very survivable, but the resources to do so are better spent on a unit that needs to be alive. Because once you make warriors stay alive, you need them to do something, and they don't. I like cheap 3-man warrior squads as objective babysitters, where 3 warriors is cheaper than a unit of gaunts and is higher toughness and has a better save and is better in combat. But it's a very small footprint and it has less offensive and screening and move blocking plays in exchange for sitting on an objective better. I actually wouldn't have minded dropping 1 Hormigaunt squad on my list for 1 unit of 3 warriors with just bare bones. But even so, I was still pretty happy with the gaunts, so I don't think I'm going to try to make that change.
Yeah. Tau actually seemed decent with tons of breachers. I think that build is actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
Like for what Tau can do.
Yeah.
I'm going to actually roll back some of the breachers and just add in a ton of crew bodies.
Crew?
And that's just because it's very cheap and you can float them onto objectives very quickly.
I am so in favor of crew.
We'll see how it works. Do you guys like aggressors as anything other than salamanders?
Ultramarines.
Yeah,
There's
Ultramarines.
still a lot of shots in that buddy Overwatch system they have is really annoying.
Yeah.
That's another scenario. I actually don't mind 5 flame aggressors in an Ultramarine list at all.
Yeah. But outside of those two, no.
Not much. No, not much.
All right, and I think we're almost out of time anyway. So thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out. We have a really exciting game coming tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on this channel, and that is going to be me playing my a Custodes build with Triple Telemon.
Yes.
For Gundam, one of our subs and a top super chatter from January, and that is going to be into Mr. John's Ultramarines.
Absolutely, and this Primaris Tech Marine that I just finished painting will be part of the action, and I'm excited to get him on the board.
And then coming up later in the week, we have some other exciting games. In the War Room, we're going to have me playing my updated Necron list with Xandric, who I was working on today, against John playing his Tyranid list, his GT winning Tyranid list. No changes from that, right, John?
No changes for that list, so you will see that on Thursday.
And then the other game, the Imperial Knights are making their debut on the channel. John has been super excited painting them up on stream. And that is going into Nick's Space Wolves. So
I'm super excited.
Lots of exciting stuff coming up on the channel. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out. We will